Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Welcome all to today's reading from Sri Caitanya Charitamrit Madhya Lila. We've been reading from chapter 1, verse number 117. We shall recommence our reading today. Mukham karoti vachalam pangum langhayate girim yat kripa tamaham vande Shri Gurum Deenatarinam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Caitanya Ishwaram Hari Om Tat Sat. So we have been reading the references from the Ramayana and the various Puranas which have been coming into the reading now. So let us continue. Tahani Karila Kurma Purana Shravana Maya Sita Nileka Ravana Tahate Likhana. At Rameshwar, Sri Caitanya Mahāprabhu had a chance to read the Kurma Puran, in which he discovered that the form of Sita kidnapped by Ravan was not that of the real Sita, but a mere shadow representation. The Kurma Puran states that this shadowy Sita was placed into a fire as a test of chastity. It was Maya Sita who entered the fire and the real Sita who came out of the fire. So Mahāprabhu is traveling through the south of India, and actually Mahāprabhu is re-establishing all the knowledge which is a little bit dwindled in this Kali Yuga. So this is what the descriptions are telling us. Verse number 118. Shunya Prabhura Anandita Haila Mana Ramadas Viprera Katha Haila Smarana. Sri Caitanya Mahāprabhu was very glad to read about the false Sita, and he remembered his meeting with Ramadas Vipra, who was very sorry that Mother Sita had been kidnapped by Ravan. Verse 119. Se Puratan Patra Agraha Kari Anila Ramadase Dekhaya Dukha Khandaila. Indeed, Lord Caitanya Mahāprabhu eagerly tore this page from the Kurma Puran, although the book was very old, and he later showed it to Ramadas Vipra, whose unhappiness was mitigated. Verse 120. Brahma Samhita Karnamrita Dui Panthi Pana Dui Pustaka Lena Aila Uttama Janina. Sri Caitanya Mahāprabhu also found other two books. So the Panthi means, or is the Punthi in Bengali, means scriptures. Namely the Brahma Samhita and Krishna Karnamrita. Knowing these books to be excellent, he took them to present to his devotees. So Mahāprabhu found two other books, Brahma Samhita and Krishna Karnamrita. Purport: in the olden days there were no presses, and all the important scriptures were handwritten and kept in large temples. Caitanya Mahāprabhu found the Brahma Samhita and Krishna Karnamrita in handwritten texts, and knowing them to be very authoritative, he took them with him to present to his devotees. Of course, he obtained the permission of the temple commander. Now both the Brahma Samhita and Krishna Karnamrita are available in print with commentaries by Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Prabhupada is telling us, and who is of course Srila Prabhupada's spiritual master. Verse number 121. Punarapi Nilachale Gamana Karila Bhakta Gane Meliya Snana Yatra Dekhila. After collecting these books, Sri Caitanya Mahāprabhu returned to Jagannath Puri. At that time, the bathing ceremony of Jagannath was taking place, and he saw it. Verse number 122. Anavasare Jagannathera Napana Darshana Virahe Alanatha Karila Gamana. So Alanatha is the name of a place. Translation: when Jagannath was absent from the temple, Caitanya Mahāprabhu, who could not see him, felt separation and left Jagannath Puri to go to a place known as Alanatha. Purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Alanath is also known as Brahmagiri. This place is about 14 miles from Jagannath Puri and is also on the beach. There is a temple of Jagannath there. At the present moment, a police station and police post office are situated there because so many people come to see the temple. So it's a sort of sought after Tirthan at the moment, very near to Jagannath Puri. The word Anavasara is used when Sri Jagannath Ji cannot be seen in the temple. After the bathing ceremony, which we all know is known as Snan Yatra, Lord Jagannatha apparently becomes sick. He is therefore removed to his private apartment where no one can see him. Actually, during this period, renovations are made on the body of Jagannath deity. This is called Nava Yovana. So all the touches of the painting and wherever there is some attention needed, it's taken care of during this period. So this period is also called Nava Yovana. So he's going to become youth-like again. Yovan means youth, as we know, and Nava means new. During the Rath Yatra ceremony, Lord Jagannath once again comes before the public. Thus, for 15 days after the bathing ceremony, Lord Jagannath is not visible to any visitors. He's taken care of by the pujaris. Verse number 123. Bhakta sane dina keta tahani rahila gaudera bhakta aise samachar paila. Sri Caitanya Mahāprabhu remained for some days at Alanath. In the meantime, he received news that all the devotees from Bengal were coming to Jagannath Puri. Verse number 124. Nityananda Sarvabhauma Agraha Karina Nilachale Aila Mahāprabhu ke Laina. When the devotees from Bengal arrived at Jagannath Puri, both Nityananda Prabhu and Sarvabhaum Bhattacharya greatly endeavored to take Sri Caitanya Mahāprabhu back to Jagannath Puri. Verse 125. Virahe Vihvala Prabhu na jane ratri dine hena kale aila gaudera bhakta gane. So as we know, Vihval is same as in Hindi, overwhelmed. So in Bengali it's the same meaning. And Viraha is separation. When Lord Caitanya Mahāprabhu finally left Alanath to return to Jagannath Puri, he was overwhelmed both day and night due to separation from Jagannath. His lamentation knew no bounds. During this time, all the devotees from different parts of Bengal and especially from Navadvip arrived in Jagannath Puri. Verse 126. Sabe mili yukti kari kirtana arambhila kirtana aveshe prabhura mana sthira haila. Arambha is the began. Sthira is specified. Kirtana avesha means in the ecstasy of kirtan. Translation. After due consideration, all the devotees began chanting the holy name congregationally. Lord Chaitanya's mind was thus pacified by the ecstasy of the chanting. Purport. Being absolute in all circumstances, Lord Jagannath's person, form, picture and kirtan are all identical. Therefore, when Caitanya Mahāprabhu heard the chanting of the holy name of the Lord, he was pacified. Previously, he had been feeling very morose due to separation from Jagannath. The conclusion is that whenever a kirtan of pure devotees takes place, the Lord is immediately present. By chanting the holy names of the Lord, we associate with the Lord personally. Verse number 127. Purve yabe Prabhu Ramanandere milila nilachale asibare tanare ajna dila. So it could be Agya Dila as well, but as we know, in Sanskrit we put J and in Hindi we say Gya. So I'm not very sure if it's in Bengali it is Ajna or it is Agya. But I think it should be Ajna because that's how it's been written here. But forgive my pronunciation if I made a mistake. Translation. Previously, when Sri Caitanya Mahāprabhu had been touring South India, he had met Ramananda Rai on the banks of the Godavari. At that time, it had been decided that Ramananda Rai would resign from his post as governor and returned to Jagannath Puri to live with Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu. Verse 128. Raja Ajna Lena Tenho Aila Keta Dine Ratri Dine Krishna Katha Ramananda Sane. Upon the order of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu, Sri Ramananda Rai took leave of the king and returned to Jagannath Puri. After he arrived, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu very much enjoyed talking with him both day and night about Lord Krishna and his pastimes. Verse 129. Kashi Mishre Kripa Pradyumna Mishradi Milana Paramananda Puri Govinda Kashi Shwar Agamana. After Ramananda Rai's arrival, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu bestowed his mercy upon Kashi Mishra and met Pradyumna Mishra and other devotees. At that time, three personalities, Paramananda Puri, Govinda and Kashishwara, came to see Lord Chaitanya at Jagannath Puri. Verse number 130. Damodar Swarupa Milane Parama Ananda Shikhi Mahiti Milana Raya Bhavananda. Eventually there was a meeting with Swarup Damodar Goswami and the Lord became very greatly pleased. Then there was a meeting with Shikhi Mahiti and with Bhavananda Rai, the father of Ramananda Rai. Verse 131. Gaura Haite Sarva Vaishnavera Agamana Kulina Gram Vasi Sange Prathama Milana. All the devotees from Bengal gradually began arriving at Jagannath Puri. At this time, the residents of Kulina Gram also came to see Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu for the very first time. Verse 132. Nrihari Dasa Adi Yata Khanda Vasi Shivananda Sena Sange Milila Sabe Asi. Eventually, Narhari Das and other inhabitants of Khanda along with Shivananda Sena all arrived and Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu met them. Verse 133. Snanayatra Dekhi Prabhu Sange Bhakti Gana Sabha Lena Kaila Prabhu Gundicha Marjana. After seeing the bathing ceremony of Lord Jagannath, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu washed and cleaned Sri Gundicha temple with the assistance of many devotees. Verse 134. Sabha Sange Ratha Yatra Kaila Darshana Ratha Agre Nritya Kari Udyane Gamana. Udyana is of course garden. After this, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and all the devotees saw the Rath Yatra, the calf festival ceremony. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself danced in front of the car and after dancing, he entered a garden. Verse 135. Pratap Rudre Kripa Kaila Se Sthane Gaudiya Bhakte Ajna Dila Vidayara Dine. In that garden, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu bestowed his mercy upon King Pratap Rudra. Afterwards, when the Bengali devotees were about to return home, the Lord gave separate orders to almost every one of them. Verse number 136. Pratyabda Aside Ratha Yatra Darshane Ai Chale Chahe, or is it Kahe Bhakta Ganera Milane? I think it's Chahe, its meaning is desires here. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu desired to meet all the devotees of Bengal every year. Therefore, he ordered them to come to see the Rath Yatra festival every year. Verse number 137. Sarvabhauma Ghare Prabhura Bhiksha Paripati Shathira Mata Kahe Yate Randi Ha Uk Sathi. Or is it Randi, like it says in Hindi as well, as we know. The widow is known as that. Translation. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was invited to dine at the house of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. While he was eating sumptuously, the son-in-law of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, the husband of his daughter Shathi, criticized him. Because of this, Shathi's mother cursed him by praying that Shathi would become a widow. In other words, she cursed her son-in-law to die. So we can see some highly emotional exchanges here in this verse. Verse 138. Varshantare Advaitadi Bhaktera Agamana Prabhure Dekhite Sabi Karila Kamana. At the end of the year, all the devotees from Bengal, headed by Advaitacharya, again came to see Lord. Indeed, there was a great rush of devotees to Jagannath Puri. And that seems like an auspicious sign, that because we know Advaitacharya appearance day is coming on this Friday, and here also Advaitacharya has come into the lila. Verse 139, Anande sabare niya dena vasasthana Shivananda sena kare sabara palana. When all the devotees from Bengal arrived, Sri Caitanya Mahāprabhu allotted them residential quarters, and Shivananda Sena was put in charge of their maintenance. Verse 140, Shivanandera sange aila kukura bhagyavan prabhura charan dekhi kaila antardhan. Kukura is a dog. A dog accompanied Shivananda Sena and all the devotees, and that dog was so fortunate that after seeing the lotus feet of Lord Caitanya Mahāprabhu, it was liberated and went back home, back to Godhead. Verse 141, Pathe sarvabhauma saha sabar milana sarvabhauma bhattacharyera kashite gamana. Everyone met Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya on his way to Varanasi. As we know, Varanasi is also known as Kashi, Benares, and of course Varanasi. Verse 142, Prabhure mililas Sarva Vaishnav Asiya Jala Krida Kaila Prabhu Sabare Laiya. After arriving at Jagannath Puri, all the Vaishnavas met with Sri Caitanya Mahāprabhu. Later, Sri Caitanya Mahāprabhu sported in the water, taking all the devotees with him. Verse 143, Sabha Lena Kaila Gundicha Griha Samarjana Ratha Yatra Darshane Prabhura Nartana. First, the Lord washed the temple of Gundicha very thoroughly. Then everyone saw the Ratha Yatra festival and the Lord's dancing before the cart. Verse 144, Upavane Kaila Prabhu Vividha Vilasa Prabhura Abhishek Kaila Vipra Krishna Das. In the garden along the road from the Jagannath temple to Gundicha, Lord Caitanya Mahāprabhu performed various pastimes. Vipra, as we read in the verse, is a Brahman. A Brahman named Krishna Das performed the bathing ceremony of Lord Sri Caitanya Mahāprabhu. Verse 145, Gundichate nritya ante kaila jale keli hera panchamite dekhila Lakshmi devira keli. Keli is the activities. Hera Panchamite is on the day of Hera Panchami. After dancing in the Gundicha temple, the Lord sported in the waters with his devotees, and on Hera Panchami day, they all saw the activities of the goddess of fortune, Lakshmi Devi. Verse 146, Krishna Janma Yatrate Prabhu Gopa Vesha Haila Dadhi Bharad Vahi Tabe Laguda Firaila. And Laguda means a rod. In Bengali, Firailila. Firaila is wheeled about. Translation: On Janmashtami, Lord Krishna's birthday, Sri Caitanya Mahāprabhu dressed himself as a cowherd boy. At that time, he carried a balance with pots of yogurt and wheeled a rod about. Verse number 146. Gaudera bhakte gane tabi karila vidaya sangera bhakta lena kare kirtana sadaya. After this, Sri Caitanya Mahāprabhu bade farewell to all the devotees from Gauradesh, Bengal, and continued chanting with his intimate devotees who constantly remained with him. Verse 148, Vrindavan yaite kaila gaudere gaman Prataprudra kaila pathe vividh sevana. Pathe is on the road. Path, as we know, path is the marg or the road. Translation: To visit Vrindavan, the Lord went to Gauradesh, Bengal. On the way, King Prataprudra performed a variety of services to please the Lord. Verse number 149, Puri Gosani Sange Vastra Pradhan Prasanga Ramananda Rai Aila Bhadrak Paryanta. On the way to Vrindavan via Bengal, there was an incident wherein some cloth was exchanged with Puri Gosani. Sri Ramananda Rai accompanied the Lord as far as the city of Bhadrak. Verse 150, Asi Vidya Vachaspatira Grihete Rahila Prabhure Dekhite Lok Sanghata Haila. Sanghata is the crowds of men. When Sri Caitanya Mahāprabhu reached Vidyanagar, Bengal, on the way to Vrindavan, he stopped at the house of Vidya Vachaspati, who was the brother of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. When Lord Caitanya Mahāprabhu suddenly arrived at his house, great crowds of people gathered. Verse 151, Panchadina dekhe lok naika vishram lok bhai ratre prabhu aila kuliya gram. For the 5 consecutive days, all the people gathered to see the Lord, and still there was no rest. Out of fear of the crowd, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu left at night and went to the town of Kulia, present-day Navadvip. Purport at 1. If one considers the statements of Chaitanya Bhagavat along with the description of by Lochan Das Thakur, it is clear that present-day Navadvip was formerly known as Kuliagram. While at Kuliagram, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu bestowed his favour upon Devananda Pandit and delivered Gopala Chapal and many others who had previously committed offences at his lotus feet. At that time, to go from Vidyanagar from Kuliagram, one had to cross a branch of the Ganges. All of these old places still exist. Chinadanga was formerly situated in Kuliagram, which is now known as Kolera Ganja. Verse 152. Kuliya gramete prabhura shuniya agamana koti koti loka asi kaila darshana. Hearing the Lord's arrival in Kuliya gram, many hundreds of thousands of people came to see him. Verse 153. Kuliya grame kaila devanandere prasad gopal viprere shamaila shrivasa parad. The specific acts performed by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu at this time were his showing favour to Devananda Pandit and excusing the Brahman known as Gopala Chapal from the offence he had committed at the lotus feet of Shrivas Thakur. Verse 154. Pashandi nindaka asi padila charane aparadha kshami tare dila Krishna preme. Many atheists and blasphemers came and fell at the lotus feet of Lord, and the Lord in return excused them and gave them love of Krishna. So we can see, if Lord can forgive, who are we? It's best to forgive, but learn lesson from the situation and move forward. Verse number 155. Vrindavana yabene prabhu shuni nirsamananda patha Sajaila Mane Paya Ananda. When Sri Nrsimhananda Brahmachari heard that Lord Mahaprabhu would go to Vrindavan, he became very pleased and mentally began decorating the way there. Verse 156. Kuliya Nagar Haite Patha Ratne Bandhaila Nivrinta Pushpa Shayya Upare Patila. Patila is to lay down, Pushpashaya is flower bed, and Nivrinta means stemless. First, Nrsimhananda Brahmacharis contemplated a broad road starting from the city of Kuliya. He bedecked the road with jewels, upon which he then laid a bed of stemless flowers, so they wouldn't hurt Mahaprabhu's feet. Verse number 157. Pathe dui Dike Pushpa Bakulera Shreni Madhya Madhya Dui Pashe Divya Pushkarini. Bakula is a kind of flower from the Bakula flower trees. Shreni's row, as you all know. Dui Pashe, both side. And Pushkarni is the lake. On both sides, Divya. Divya is transcendental. Dvipasya is on both sides. He mentally decorated both sides of the road with Bakula flower trees, and at intervals on both sides he placed lakes of a transcendental nature. So sometimes we haven't got access to certain things which we want to offer to lordships. So in a way, this is a message, a very subtle message for all of us, that we can make do from our bhava as well. For example, we want to offer mango to Lord in certain season, or maybe lotuses or jasmines, or some very fresh tulsi leaves or manjaris on a certain day. But due to your situation, wherever you are in the world, you might not be having access to those things. So you can do this mentally. Lord is Bhavagrahi, Janardana. Verse number 158. Ratna Bandha Ghata Tahe Prafulla Kamala Nana Pakshi Kolahal Sudha Samajala. These lakes had bathing places constructed with jewels, and they were filled with blossoming lotus flowers. There were various birds chirping, and the water was exactly like nectar. Verse 159. Shitala Samira Vahe Nana Ganthalena Kanaira Natshala Prayanta Laila Bandhina. The entire road was surcharged with many cool breezes which carried the fragrances from various flowers. He carried the construction of this road as far as Kanai Natshala. Kanai Natshala is about 200 miles from Calcutta on the loop line of Eastern Railway. The railway station is named Tal Jhadi, and after one gets off that station, he has to go about 2 miles to find Kanai Natshala. So the decorations were done mentally with his bhav up to 200 miles from Navadvip. Verse 160. Aage mana nahi chale na pare bandhite patha bandha na yaya Nrisimha Haila Vismite. Within the mind of Nrisimhananda the Brahmachari, the road could not be constructed beyond Kanai Natshala. He could not understand why the road's construction could not be completed, and thus he was astonished. Verse 161. Nishchay Karya Kahi Shuna Bhakta Gana Ebar Na Yabena Prabhu Sri Vrindavan. With great assurance, he then told the devotees that Lord Chaitanya would not go to Vrindavan at that time. Purport: Sri Nrisimhananda Brahmachari was a great devotee of Lord Chaitanya Mahāprabhu. Therefore, when he heard that from Kulia, Sri Chaitanya Mahāprabhu was going to Vrindavan, although he had no material wealth, he began to construct within his mind a very attractive path or road for Chaitanya Mahāprabhu to traverse. Some of the description of this path is given above, but when mentally he could not construct the road beyond Kanai Natshala, therefore he concluded that Chaitanya Mahāprabhu could not go to Vrindavan at that time. For pure devotee, it is the same whether he materially constructs a path or constructs one within his mind. This is because the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Janardhan, is bhavagrahi or appreciative of the sentiment. For him, a path made with the actual jewels and a path made with mental jewels are the same. Though subtle mind is also matter, so any path, indeed anything for the service of the Lord, whether in gross matter or in subtler matter, is accepted equally to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Lord accepts the attitude of his devotee and sees how much he is prepared to serve him. The devotee is at liberty to serve the Lord either in gross matter or in subtle matter. The important point is that the service be in relation with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita 9.26. Patram pushpam phalam toyam yome bhaktya prayachati tad aham bhaktya uparitam ashnami prayatatmanaha. If one offers me with love and devotion a leaf, a flower, a fruit, or water, I will accept it. The real ingredient is bhakti, that is the devotion. Pure devotion is uncontaminated by the modes of material nature. Ahaituki apratihatta, unconditional devotional service cannot be checked by any material condition. This means that one does not have to be very rich to serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Even the poorest man can equally serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead if he has pure devotion. If there is no ulterior motive, devotional service cannot be checked by any material condition. So in this material world, a devotee, whether he has got all the opulences at his disposal or he's the poorest of the poorest devotee, they both can do the devotional service of Lord in the same standard. Bhagwan is going to accept everything offered mentally as well. It is not that he has to see in the hard currency or things have to be there. If they are not there, Bhagwan understands the situations of his bhakt. Because everything, what is everything in this world? It might be a great opulence for us and everything, but God is the source of everything. Everything is just minute in relation to what we think of the opulence, because everything is coming from Krishna. Verse number 162. Kana Nira Natshala Haite Asibad Firina Janibe Paschat Kahilu Nishchay Karina. Nrisimhananda Brahmachari said, the Lord will go to Kanai Natshala and then he will return. All of you will come to know of this later, but I now say this with great sadness. With great assurance, not sadness. Verse 163, Gosani Kuliya Haite Chalila Vrindavan Sange Sahasreka Loka Yata Bhakta Gana. Sahasra is thousands, so Sahasreka is thousands. When Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu began to proceed from Kuliya towards Vrindavan, thousands of men were with him and all of them were devotees. Verse 164, Yahan Yaya Prabhu Tahan Koti Sankhya Loka Dekhite Aise Dekhi Khande Dukha Shloka. Wherever the Lord visited, crowds of innumerable people came to see him. When they saw him, all their unhappiness and lamentation disappeared. Verse 165, Yaha Yaha Prabhura Charana Padaye Chalite Se Mritika Lay Loka Garta Haya Pathe. Mritika is dirt in Bengali. Wherever the Lord touched the ground with his lotus feet, people immediately came and gathered the dirt. Indeed, they gathered so much that many holes were created in the road. Verse 166, Aiche Chali Aila Prabhu Rama Keli Gram Gaudera Nikata Gram Ati Anupama. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu eventually arrived at the village named Ramkeli. The village is situated on the border of Bengal and is very exquisite, or Anupam. Ramakeli Gram is situated on the banks of Ganges on the border of Bengal. Srila Rupa and Sanatan Goswamis, this is the purport, had their residences in this village. So Ramakeli is very exquisite village. Of course, why not? Because Rupa and Sanatan Goswami, they lived there. They had their residences there. So we will continue from verse 167 next time. Thank you for joining. Hari Om Tat Sat. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami ki jai. Mahāprabhu ki jai. Gaura Premanande. Hari Hari Bol.